morning, friends and family. It is I, Dukulu Mudiba, and I'm back again with another powerful message for you guys today. And the theme for today's message is the problem within. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I wanted to encourage the vibe of self-introspection and self-growth. Not only that, but I wanted to bring us into the realization of how sometimes we can become the obstacles to our own progress. Now, friends, before we carry on, let's start by defining what the word problem means in the context of this message, right? So the word problem means it is something that causes a delay or affects your progress towards a goal. Now, friends, we can face two types of problems. There's what I call an external problem and an internal problem. Now, an external problem, this is an obstacle or delay which arises from outside influence, while an internal problem, this is an obstacle or delay which arises from within, meaning it's a problem which is caused by you. Now, a perfect example of this, you can find it in the life of the people of Israel, right? So from Exodus chapter 1 until chapter 14, the people of Israel are facing what I call an external problem. And this external problem is Pharaoh. And Pharaoh is an external problem because Pharaoh is the reason why the people of Israel are delayed from reaching their goal. And what is their goal? Their goal is that they would be the people who will live in the land of milk and honey. And Pharaoh, of course, didn't allow the people of Israel to leave Egypt. They were slaves until, of course, Moses came through, and he did what he did. And then moving on from there, you go to Exodus 15 until Numbers 17. Now, the people of Israel, they are facing what I call an internal problem. Now, the people of Israel are not delayed from anyone else, from the actions of other people, but they are delayed from their own actions. They are delayed because of their weak faith. They're delayed because of their attitude and their habits. Now, how can we relate to this? So, friends, I just want to explain how sometimes it is not the situation that we find ourselves in that delays us. It is not our friends, it is not things at school, things at work, or our finances that delay our progress, but it is sometimes our faith, it is sometimes our attitudes, it is sometimes our habits that can delay us from actually progressing in our life. Now, how exactly can these things affect our progress? Let's start it off with attitude. I remember earlier on this year, we had a conference at my church, and we had Apostles Kumbuso Sangweni come and preach at our church. And this is what he said. He says, honor is a magnet. He said, honor is a magnet. He said, certain things in your life can be unlocked or can be received through honor. And, I was like, okay, that's bars right there. I want to try it out. So I said to myself, from now on, I'm not going to hate on anything that I see. I'm not going to hate on the good things that are happening. I'm just going to admire the things that are happening in other people's lives. I'm going to admire it. I'm going to appreciate it, And one of the things that I realized, from doing that, from keeping that type of attitude, is that I was always inspired. When you admire and honor the things of other people, it's like you get inspired. You get inspired to also shoot that high in your life. You get inspired to also work that hard in your life. Even like in preaching, what I'll do is that sometimes I'd even go on YouTube and watch other preachers, and I'd honor that. Wow, that's so great, man. That was a great sermon, and that would inspire me. It would inspire me. So it seems that to me, the attitude of honor can, it inspires you to want to do much greater things, or it inspires you to want to progress in your life. It inspires you to want to progress in your life. So that goes out to show how our attitudes towards life, can have an impact on our own actions. And whatever has an impact on your actions, overall it has an impact on what happens in your life. It has an impact on the progress of your life. Now, another thing is our faith. Our faith can impact our progress, that our faith can literally impact our own progress. I remember the other time I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, from church, and she was telling me about how while she was in high school, before she, in the matric year, she already believed or had faith that she would go to a certain university. And she also had faith that not only will she go to that university, but her fees would be paid for that university. And comes Vele matric final year, and the results are coming, they now are sending the replies. The universities are replying if you're in or you're out. And she got into the university that she wanted. And not only did she only get into the university she wanted, but the fees were also paid, So that just, to me, it reminded me how, faith is such a beautiful element, it's such a beautiful element and an important element. And it demonstrates how faith can move you from one place to the next. And not only that, but I want us to pay attention to something. Look at Numbers chapter 11, verse 21. This is what it says. Numbers, as I read it from my book, I said Numbers chapter 11, verse 21. It says, "But Moses said, the people among whom I am number 600,000 on foot. And you have said, I will give them meat, that they may eat a whole month. Shall flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, and be enough for them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, and be enough for them? And the Lord said to Moses, Is the Lord's hand shortened? Now you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not." Now, in other versions, it says, "Is the power of the Lord limited?" So that just goes out to prove that sometimes we limit what God can do in our lives. Like, we limit the power of God. We limit what God can do in our lives. And I just want to say that sometimes God cannot move certain things in your life because of your faith. It is your faith that is limiting him. And you also see that with the people of Israel, that the reason why they never entered into the land of milk and honey, concerning the first generation, the reason why they didn't enter into the land of milk and honey was because of their limited faith. They sent people to go and spy out the land, and they came back and said, I don't believe that we're gonna make it. I don't believe that we're gonna get into that land. And God says to them, because it is what you have said, it is what you believe, I will do what you have said. It shall be so. What you say, it shall be so. So, our faith can sometimes limit how far we can go. Our faith can limit how far we can go and what can happen in our life. So it is very important that we start to expand our faith. And one may ask, how exactly do I expand faith? How exactly do I expand faith? And one of the things that my teacher always tells me is that faith comes from hearing. You need to speak it. Even if your heart does not believe it or what, but just speak it and your heart will pull through later. And another important thing that I find in expansion of faith is prayer. Because I remember as I was still, learning, and I am still learning even now, I always ask God, how can I have this faith that can move mountains? Like, how does that happen? And I was in continuous prayer. I just simply said, I'm going to ask God to give me faith. I'm just going to ask God to give me faith that can move mountains. And I feel that prayer actually does help. Prayer actually helps, because he says, who of you will their son ask for food or for food or for fish, and he will give him a snake? So he says, ask the Father and he shall give it to you, And then, so that is how much, faith is very important in our lives. And then we have habits. Habits in our lives can impact our progress. Now, how exactly do habits influence our progress? Is that habits have the ability to influence the future, or they have the ability to influence what the future becomes. Now, to explain that is that, what I do today, eventually the results of it, or the impact of it, or the effect of it will be seen in the future. It will be seen in the future. Now, let's talk in the context of in the next 5 years, Now, in the next 5 years, if I'm hoping to be successful in the next 5 years, that means right now the habits that I need to keep are habits that will promote my growth. I need to keep habits that would promote my growth in order for me to be successful in the next 5 years. But if in my life currently right now I have habits that do not promote my growth, in the next 5 years, I'll definitely still be in the same position. Now, I also want us to look at the people of Israel. Something that you see about the people of Israel is that, as they are in the wilderness or what, there's one thing that they keep doing a lot. There's just one thing that they keep doing it a lot, and this is them going abandoning God and worshiping idols. They do that a lot. They go out and they abandon God and worship the idols, and then they ask for forgiveness, and they go back to it again. It's a constant thing that they do. Now, one thing that my teacher once said in class is that look at where these people come from. Look at where these people of Israel come from. They come from Egypt. And the people of Egypt, the practices that they have are those of worshipping idols. The people of Egypt worship idols and so on and so forth. So you need to understand that the people of Israel were around it for a long time. It's possible that some of them may have practiced some of those things that the Egyptians were doing. But the main fact is that they were around those habits for such a long time, that now these habits have been instilled in them, that even now when they're in a different place, in a position, those habits are still things that they do. And those very same habits that they do are things that are delaying their progress. They are delaying their progress. So on that point, I just want to point out how it's very important, guys, the habits that we keep. Like, it is very important. I think I said it on the last video, but our habits can literally either destroy our future or they can build our future. Your habits can destroy your future or build your future, which is so important for us to be careful of what habits we have, because you could win today, but if your habits are such horrible habits, that your W will not last forever. It won't last forever. You just break your W. You won't grow further. So the habits that we keep in our life are very important. Now, it's very important for us to have attitudes, faith, and habits which don't only, okay, let me just put it this way. It's important for us to have faith and attitude and the habits that pull us closer to God. It's important for us to have that. And the reason I'm saying that is because I believe that the more you pull yourself closer to God, that's like the more you're pulling yourself closer to your goal and your purpose. That's ultimately what I believe in, and I think that is very true. The more you pull yourself closer to God, that is the more you pull yourself closer to your goal. Now, it is important that our habits, our faith, and our attitude must resemble, they must resemble, how can I put it? Okay, so let me just explain it this way, so that it can make much more sense of what I'm saying. So, yesterday I was listening to this song, I Give Myself Away, I was gonna sing it for you guys, but hey, I know you start calling me for gigs now and what, no, I don't need that right now. But, I was listening to the song, I Give Myself Away, and it's a song of submission. It's a song that says, God, I give myself away. My life is no longer my own. I give it to you. It is yours. And something that just came to my spirit like that was that, what significance does this, moment of worship really have? What significance does it have if your life does not necessarily resemble what you are saying? And what I mean by that is that, I'm not saying that it's bad to worship or not. No, it's a good thing to worship, to have a moment of worship with God. It's a good thing to say, God, I give my life to you. But what simply I'm saying is that, what does it mean if your life literally does not resemble what you are saying? If your words in worship, your words in worship and your life are not in line with each other. You are saying, I give my life away to you, God. But yet your life does not resemble what you are saying. It does not resemble what you are saying. So it is, it's important. It's important for not only to worship God through your mouth, but worship God through your spirit. Through your spirit, but it is important for you not to only worship God through your mouth, but to also worship God through your life. It says, what is faith without actions? What is faith without actions? It's not only a matter of your faith or what, but your actions must also, your faith must be seen in your actions, in the way you live your life, And simply the reason why I'm saying that our lives must resemble what our faith is saying, what our prayers is saying, is because, like I said, okay, what did I say? I said, the more we pull ourselves closer to God, that is the more we pull ourselves closer to our goals. So, we can not only get closer to God by our prayers alone, or our faith alone, or our attitude alone, but also by how we live our lives. How you live your life will also bring you closer to God. One thing I always say is that a relationship with God is also a practical relationship. you have a practical relationship with God. A relationship with God is a practical thing. It is things that you do by your actions too, and ultimately, like I said, pull yourself closer to God and that will pull you closer to your goal. Now, friends and family, what I hope this message does for us is that it promotes or it creates, a vibe of, or not really a vibe, but an encounter where now we ask ourselves, do I have habits in my life? Do I have an attitude in my life? Do I have things in my life that push me closer to the goal? Or do I have things that delay me or hold me back from the goal? That is what I wish this message does for us. Like we can have that self-introspection. Am I moving forward or am I moving backward? Where am I going? So that is what I want us to look at today. Now, friends and family, that is all from me today, and I hope that this message has taken you a step closer to your goal. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.